Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective, going to 5,000 subscribers by September 7th, Texas LSU. Here on Memorial Day, very thankful for all of those who sacrificed, all of the great soldiers that have protected this country. If it wasn't for them giving up their lives, we wouldn't have the freedoms to talk about UT, Cowboys, and whatever else we discuss as sports fans on this channel. So first and foremost, thank you for their sacrifice. Getting to the Bru McCoy stuff, I've been getting hit up about it all day since the report dropped from USC Sports through the Rivals website this morning about Bru McCoy potentially going back to USC after he had transferred initially to Texas and completed this spring semester here. So getting into the news, just my reaction, like what in the funk Dr. Flex is going on with Bru McCoy. From what we know, he went home this past weekend for Memorial Day. Apparently has been homesick and wants to go back. We do not, at this time, at the time I'm making this video, we haven't gotten word on the waiver status for his eligibility for the 2019 season. As of now, we also know that his name is not in the NCAA transfer portal. So where's all the smoke coming from with the USC stuff? Apparently, as well, he had reached out to Clay Helton and said that he wanted to come back if there was a scholarship available. So those are the things we know. And it's been a very complicated situation from the beginning of dealing with this particular player and his family. With all that being said, I don't want first off, as a fan, I don't want people who don't want to be here. Bottom line, it's not good for the culture. It's not good for the program. And at this point, there's still, he hasn't played a game for us yet. There's not enough built in terms of equity with us to where he can't go back to California. And I think most fans would be fine with that. I mean, look, there's going to be knuckleheads in every fan base. We've seen the knuckleheads today from UFC. We've seen the knuckleheads today from the Texas fan base that are saying ridiculous things about an 18, 19-year-old. It is what it is. However, at some point, Bru and his family have to understand that you're going to have to be committed one way or another and stick out, whatever you do, or else there will be consequences. And in this particular case, there's two consequences we're looking at. One, him not playing this season and having to sit out and having that mandatory redshirt year. And two, the more severe one is if his name was not in the transfer portal and he did in fact have contact with Clay Helton, or if USC was recruiting him back when he came home, that is an illegal violation. And Texas has a case against USC for direct recruiting violations of a player that is on scholarship with us. So all of those things need to be taken into account and over the next really 24 hours, because we have players coming tomorrow for off-season workouts. Bru and that camp, they're going to have to be very, very careful with how they move. Taylor Estes had her story come out saying that there's some people in the camp that are trying to make sure he's solid with Texas and potentially going back. You have other people on the USC side that are reporting that it's already pretty much a done deal that he is going to go back to USC. So we don't know. Now, the other feeling I have is, from the standpoint of Texas, fortunately, this is a position that we've recruited well, where we do have productive players already in place, and it was never a position, in my opinion, of need. Bru was always a luxury for us to have, and one that was going to help with the talent pool, just across this program. But if he's not going to be in play, we have other guys, whether it's a Brennan Eagles or Marcus Washington, Jake Smith coming in. That position, Malcolm Epps. The names go on of guys who are already fighting for snaps. He probably has an easier path to the field going back to USC. Not to say that group they have over there is slouches, but we have one of the strongest position groups in the country at that position. So would it cripple Texas? Would it hurt us? Would it dispel our chances from winning the Big 12? Absolutely not. In my opinion, with the quarterback you have in place, with the coaching staff being what it is, all the analysts we've brought in, the back end leadership with this defense, with a Brandon Jones back there, Malcolm Roach on the defense, there's no excuses, in my opinion, unless you start to get crippled by injuries. So when we go back to, the discussion with Bru, this also brings up the credibility of the transfer portal. Now, in this particular case, like I said before, he is currently not in the transfer portal. So we can have that discussion when it comes to it about, is it good for college football? Is it bad for college football? Obviously, this will be something that will be a negative example of some of the freedoms that some players get. But, I mean, at the same token, college kids get homesick all the time after a semester, after a year, and this stuff happens. So I'm not going to say that Bru's a bad kid or his family's a mess, but I will say once he decides on a place, and it has to be now, once he makes that decision, you got to stick with it, or else, like I said before, the consequences of the situation. So more has to come out of this story, but it's a crazy one. It's a crazy developing story. As Texas fans, we welcome Bru on board, and I myself won't be nasty. I won't hate the kid if he goes back to USC, and I don't think anyone else should, nor will I root against him. And I don't think this is an indictment, because this is the other thing I want to discuss. I've started to see this out here in some of the comment sections and on Twitter, and I want to shut that down right now. This is not an indictment on the out-of-state recruiting. I've already seen people pop up here and say, see, this is why we got to stay in state with these guys, and all that crowd that likes to, if we don't win Texas, we don't win, period. Stop it with that nonsense. Like I said, these are kids. If stuff happens with the homesick stuff, happens every year. Some of you that have sent kids off to college, some of you that have been to college, may have even been in a similar situation as Bru, not as a football player recruit, but in terms of the homesick aspect, these things happen. That is not an indictment on what Tom Herman and this staff are doing from an out-of-state perspective, and you can't pigeonhole a whole, philosophy over one player. We have to be very, very careful with that in levying critique on that. Do I think we can do a better job within the state? Yes, and they're working on it. I mentioned DFW last video, and we'll talk more about it. But at the end of the day, there's still plenty of talent in the wide receiver room for Drew Manager to work with, for Tim Beck and Tom Herman to work with and be productive and have a fantastic season and give Sam Ehlinger all the help that he needs. I want Bru McCoy to be a part of this, but if he's not, he's not. Bottom line. All right. So you guys chime in with your thoughts on this crazy situation. From what I know is what I cover. This channel, I'm not here to break stories. I'm here to react as a fan to what is going on with my team, how I feel real time, and just bring forth raw emotions, raw thoughts. And as we get more definitive news and what direction him and his family are choosing to go, I'll be here to respond to that as well. So I appreciate you guys so much. Just the growth of the channel, the communication. Those of you who reached out to me today on Twitter, I'll be posting this all over the place, and would love to continue to converse with everyone. For those of you who are not following me on Twitter, make sure you do so. I have the links in the description box, as always, below to follow on all social media sites. But guys, we are destined for great things, and there are great expectations among this fan base, rightfully so. And with that, hook 'em, horns always up. Appreciate y'all.